Welcome to the Market Mystics podcast, where we discuss what's happening in the cryptosphere and trading on earth as it is in heaven. Buckle up and huddle on while we dive in and get weird. Here are your hosts, Joshua and Kim.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the final episode of 2022. That's a pretty crazy accomplishment for us because it means we have been recording for a year, because we started, I can't remember the exact date, but I think it was right after the beginning of the year.
It was January 1.
January 1.
Yeah.
So there you go. We are days away from being a year old, and that's quite the accomplishment.
It is for us, considering, if you don't know us personally, neither one of us tend to like to be in the spotlight. And so we started this podcast out of obedience to what we felt like the Lord was leading us to do. Not because we want to be known in some way or another.
Yeah.
So going for a whole year, that is quite the accomplishment for two non-spotlight seekers.
That's right. That's right. Well, we've got some cool things planned for season 2, which we are going to launch in February. I know it probably makes logical sense to do it in January, but we just don't feel like it's quite the right time yet. So February is when season 2 will start. So we will kind of just finish out January as normal. And then, I can't tell you exactly how season 2 is going to take form yet, because we're still working through some of those details. It may be very similar, maybe quite a bit different. Who knows?
We'll
But
see.
at least at this point, we are planning to continue down the path and see where Yahweh leads us. But for today, we just kind of want to hit some highlights of what's happened in crypto space. Maybe we'll talk a little bit about our personal lives, and just what's happened in 2022, because it's been quite a year.
True.
Yeah.
Let's start with some market updates. Bitcoin, the number one coin by market cap, is up just over 0.25% over 24 hours, down almost 1% over 7 days. It is like so flat and steady. It's kind of wild.
Yeah.
It is. Wow. Wait a minute. Okay. So there are new statistics in here since I put this together. So I'm just reading this now. So it's down 65% over the last year. It is up 12,168% over all time, and currently sits at $16,667 per coin. Ethereum, still the number 2 coin. If you remember our predictions, I predicted that it would lose that spot, but it did not. It is up 0.8% over 24 hours and down the same amount as Bitcoin. So down almost 1% over 7 days. It's down 68% over 1 year, which is very close, a little bit bigger decline than Bitcoin, but up 42,032% all time. It is currently sitting at $1,202 per token. Those are kind of wild numbers.
Yeah, the all-time, that's why, so I went in and I was like, I want to put in the 1 year numbers because we're just talking about what's happened in a year.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's significant. And, as no surprise, it's down a pretty significant amount. But I was also curious what it was for all time, because I know if you look at an all-time chart, crypto still looks pretty good. And so, yeah, seeing 12,000% up, 42,000% increase, like was mind blowing for me.
True. That's true. We do have to think back to the old story of Bitcoin and how somebody paid I don't know, 11 Bitcoin or something for a pizza.
It was like 10,000 or 20,000.
10,000 Bitcoin for a pizza. I
Yeah,
wouldn't pay 1 Bitcoin for a pizza at this
right.
point. Like we're
Exactly.
still thousands of pizzas into Bitcoin.
This is true. This is true.
Maybe that's a good measuring standard.
I could get behind measuring things with pizza.
Same. I love pizza.
It's great. All right,
Okay.
what was the top mover in?
Our biggest mover was BitDAO. Its call symbol is BIT. It's the number 82 coin. This was by far the biggest mover. I will say the second biggest mover was about 3.3% up in 24 hours. This one's at 19.4% over 24 hours, 17.1% up over 7 days. It's sitting at 34 cents per token. BitDAO is a collective of builders, products, and mutually beneficial ecosystems governed by Bit token holders. So the Bit is the token. A DAO is a decentralized autonomous organization. So it's kind of a voting community. It's like a self-governed community.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what it is. I started reading the white paper because I wasn't getting a whole lot of information about specifics on what they do. And just reading through the first few paragraphs, I didn't get any more specifics. So do your own research.
There you go. All right. Well, today may be a little bit of a shorter episode, but I just want to run through some highlights that happened in crypto. I'd love to I don't know, maybe share some highlights from our personal lives. We didn't really talk about that, but I think it'd be fun as well. So just quickly, a couple of them. Crypto market cap is down nearly $2 trillion since its peak in November of 21. So just over a year, down nearly 2 trillion. It's currently sitting at 830 billion, which is
It
still a
is.
substantial number, but so much less than it had been.
We went from talking in trillions to talking in billions. Like that is
Yes,
significant.
significant.
Mhm.
But I don't think that it's necessarily like a nail in the coffin for crypto. I think we've talked about this a little bit, but I think crypto had kind of like this retail soaring, like was in the news, was all over social media, and like had its like 10 minutes. But the technology that it actually is, I think, is beneficial. And I think um, somebody I was talking to, and I wish I could give them credit because I can't remember exactly who it was, but was talking about like when Facebook first became popular, it had this like huge increase, was real popular, and then sort of like died off for a little bit. And even though now people may not love it, it still holds the most users, I believe. Like it's still the top social media platform. And the same thing with Google. Google revolutionized the search engine. Then kind of like some other ones popped up and it was like, oh, let's check out Yahoo and AOL and blah, 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 like all these other things. And then all of a sudden now Google is the premier, almost nothing else exists. Um, and I just have a feeling that crypto is kind of in one of those stages where like had kind of like this quick, hey, what's up? And now it's kind of going back, but the technology that it is, I think will still prove to be beneficial.
Mhm. I would compare it to like there has all of these people have said for the last couple of years that we're kind of in the Wild West
Mhm.
with crypto. I would call what we had last year kind of the gold rush period.
Yeah.
Like people were like, oh my gosh, there's money here. I'm going there. I'm doing it. And then people saw that there was a lot of volatility and decided that a lot of people decided they didn't want to risk whatever it was or participate. And so, you know, there was the gold rush and everyone rushed to the Western United States. And now we have vineyards in Hollywood there. You know what I
Right?
mean? Are there still people who are like mining for wealth? There are. But I think people went, they saw, and then they decided to get out of it. And that's okay. I think it's a stabilizing of it, or it seems
Yeah.
to be that way. I mean, next year we'll recap this and see.
We'll see what happens then. Here's another interesting number: $18.3 billion raised by crypto startups in 2022.
Wow.
I think that's significant, and that kind of goes to the gold rush. Like there's all these people going, "Ooh, can I get in here? Can I set something up? Can I be established?" But raising a pretty significant amount of money towards that.
Mm,
And I know that doesn't necessarily have a dent in the loss of
right.
crypto. I think back to things like Luna and FTX and Celsius, and like there was some pretty big failures this year as well. Um, but I think that's bound to happen when we're in this territory of the new, the unknown, the gold rush type of things. Like there's prospectors who are bound to fail.
Right.
And I think we kind of saw that.
Agreed. Agreed.
This is another interesting number: 208,000, the number of USDC stablecoins that acquired new addresses with balances over $1,000. Um,
Huh.
so so 200, basically what it's saying is 208,000 people invested in the stablecoin USDC with an amount over $1,000. And
Hmm.
that's intriguing to me because that to me shows people moving um, savings accounts.
That's what I was going to say. That sounds like savings accounts.
Hmm. Yeah.
Interesting.
So it's not people just playing around with $100, $50. It's 1,000, which, to some people is play money, but I would say, maybe for the majority of people, that's not.
Mm,
Um, and so to me, it seems like an alternative savings account. And I know there were several platforms that were paying pretty well for interest in USDC. So that could be I know crypto.com was one of them, so maybe there's quite a few people who went to crypto.com for that. I don't know, but I
sure.
think that is a really fascinating number.
I completely agree.
And I don't know where this number comes from, but 114 nations exploring central bank digital currencies as a possibility. And I know we don't love those. We
I
don't
don't love them.
generally talk favorably about them, but I think what I would say is, to me, that shows the evolution of money into more of a digital asset.
That's true. That's true.
And
It is a remarkable time, at least, like
mm,
in an era of using the paper dollar or the coin money, to see this kind of shift happening globally, to be moving to a digital currency, like actually calling it that. I know that we've kind of had digital dollar for a while, but to move to blockchain, right?
yeah,
It's feels different.
it does feel significant to me. Like we've talked quite a bit about the evolution of money and how, we've moved from one form to another form to another form, and it feels as if we're moving into a more digital thing. I would say, hey, if 114 countries are looking into some form of a digital only currency, that just shows that yes, that's the trajectory we're on. And then for us, I think it's how can we be positioned um, to steward that well, to help be in governing positions where we can make good choices and govern as sons.
Mm, good point. Very good point. Here's a number that is significant, and I don't know why I want to laugh about it, but I do. 99.95% This is the energy efficiency improvement of Ethereum after the network completed its long-awaited merge in September. So when they moved from proof of work to proof of stake, that's how much energy efficiency they gained.
Yeah. I would also say that's how much decentralization they lost.
Good point, Josh.
Yeah. But it is certainly a more energy efficient way of doing that for sure.
Mhm.
Another fun number, 14, the age that Bitcoin turned this year. That's pretty cool because as if you've listened to us at all, we have a love for Bitcoin. Um, and it's cool to see that it's been around. I mean, Kim and I have only been involved in it in a couple of years. And so like its history is there. There's a lot of history beyond the year of 68%, 65% decrease. There's so much history there. And I think the 12,000% increase speaks to the other 13 years of its existence.
Yeah. Yeah. It's good. Um, here's a number. I don't know that I like it. 9.1%. I'd ask you to guess, but you have the same notes that I do, so I know you know what it is. I'll
Yeah.
just give our listeners a moment to guess what that 9.1% is that is significant for this year.
Which is probably a low.
It is kind of low. That is this year's peak inflation reading from June's Consumer Price Index, which indicated the US was seeing the worst year-over-year inflation increase in 41 years. Ouch.
And I think most people felt that. I mean, I know personally, like going to the grocery store. I think the grocery store is a great example because gas prices have fluctuated my whole life.
Right.
There there's nothing in me that believes gas prices are actually based on supply and demand, but just based on how they want it to be in that particular time period and how much money they can get from us. Um, so I don't think that's a good example, but I think grocery stores are a much better example because on average, the cost per item is up significantly. And maybe it's 9%. I would argue it's probably more than 9% because it just seems like the other day I went and got like 5 or 6 things and it was like $90. And I was like, this is crazy. Like,
I feel that. I mean, when we see places like Dollar Tree, which for my whole life has been the dollar store, that is where you go and every item is $1. And they increased their prices this year
yeah,
by 25%. Everything is $1.25 now.
yeah,
I mean, I think that is telling.
yeah, that's speaking when your discount stores are having to raise the price. And doesn't mean they're not still the discount store, but like yeah, that's I mean, my whole life the Dollar Tree was branded as the 99-cent store.
Right.
Like
Everything's a
that's
dollar.
crazy.
It's
So,
wild.
it's
Yeah.
fun. What do you think has been the highlight for Kim this year? What would you say is kind of if you had to look back into your year in review, where do you think you've went? How do you think that's flowed?
Um, I think the biggest thing this year for me, which is a bit more, I don't know if you'd say it's existential. Like, I feel like a good answer would be something wonderful with my family or, I don't know, living circumstances or something. But I think the highlight has really been gaining perspective. And we talked about it a lot this year, but there was just a certain moment, I think it was in April, that the Lord just like hit me with this and it landed and it was such a big theme this year for me. like really stepping back from seeing beyond, like seeing only to the extent of my own nose, like looking beyond what's right in front of me and looking at where other people are coming from, what they're carrying. That just because it's not the same as me doesn't mean it's not right. I don't know. That's probably been my biggest theme, I guess, or like growth moment of the year. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, I think it's great. I don't know what the answer was, so I think that's great.
The answer was perspective.
Yeah. No, I mean, I didn't have an answer in my mind before I asked the question.
Got it.
So
What was yours?
I learned a lot about energy and health this year.
Mm,
Um, my life pretty drastically changed. Where I lived changed. The primary thing I was doing changed. Um, and in the midst of all that change, our we went to Africa 3 times. I went to Europe. Like there was a lot that happened this year in the midst of really challenging circumstances. And I think just kind of learning about myself was a big part of this year. Um, yeah, and I think you'll see some of that come out in season 2. I don't wanna say too much about that because I was about to just unload the whole thing, but, I think you'll see some of that of this year just felt like a gathering year, like, oneness with myself, oneness with God, um, and learning how to navigate changes in belief systems,
mm,
changes in work, changes in life, changes in living, changes in relationships. Pretty substantial year of change. So,
yeah.
uh, yeah, I don't know if that was my highlight. I don't know if it's if there's one cohesive thing within that, but learning about myself and learning about energy, I think is the theme of the year.
It's good.
Yeah.
It's good. Cool.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you guys for joining us in 2022. This has been a fun year, a lot of exciting things, fun conversations, cool guests. We have so much more planned. This isn't the end of the season yet, but it is the end of the year. So I want to wish you all a enjoyment of the final few days and a happy new year.
Thank you for listening. Join us every Monday and Thursday as we discuss trading on earth as it is in heaven. If you want to connect further, follow us on social media at market.mystics for Instagram and TikTok, and search for Market Mystics on YouTube and Facebook. If you still need more, follow the link on Facebook to book a coaching appointment. Until next time, see ya.